Welcome to the Cell Soul Source podcast. I'm Jackie, a chiropractor, yogi, and Akashic reader, and I'm here to activate healing in light workers of all kinds so they can serve from an empowered place and fulfill their purpose with ease, awe, and wonder. Hello and welcome back. Today is story time. It had always been my wildest dream to have a multidisciplinary clinic. One space where patients could come and there were different therapists that could look after their different needs. With the consent of the patient, those therapists could speak to each other, and ultimately the clients and the patients and the students could get the best results possible. So when I eventually achieved that and I had the staff and the therapists and the associates and, my lists were full and I was making all the money, you would think that I would be really, really happy. I should have been on paper really, really happy. But behind the scenes, I was really burned out. I was working long days. I would leave the house about 7:30. I would get home about 7:30 at night. So they were really long days, but also I was working back-to-back patients within those days. And every client that called, I would say yes. I would agree to see them in my lunch break, in breaks that I had tried to set for myself. I would pop them on the end of my day. Then I would drive across town on some evenings and I would teach a yoga class. So I would get home really, really late. I was also working Saturday mornings. So as you can imagine, it was a lot. I had Saturday afternoon and Sunday to try and recover from the week that had gone, and try and gather enough energy for the week that was coming. And that was my life on repeat for years and years and years. So eventually I got to the point where I was tired no matter how much I slept. I was going to bed earlier and earlier and it didn't matter. I was still waking up tired. It didn't matter what I ate, what, meditations I did. I was still just always tired. My emotions were all over the place. I would cry whether people were nice to me, whether I thought they weren't nice to me. It didn't matter. I just used to cry at the smallest things. And I was so overwhelmed by the mountain of work ahead of me every day. There was just no wiggle room. So if everything went off without a hitch, if everything was perfect, then I could just about do it. But if there were any hiccups in the day, any changes, any unforeseen things, then, the day used to unravel really quickly and become really stressful. And it was overwhelming. I remember that I used to call it pre-anxious. I used to look at my list and it was so full that I used to get pre-anxious, like hoping things would go smoothly. Because if they didn't, that could quickly turn into quite a big mess. I was frustrated with my business. I was frustrated that it was taking up so much of my time, my energy. I just had no free space for myself. And in the end, I actually resented being a healer altogether. I just wished that I didn't have any of the knowledge, any of the skills, any of the wisdom. And I ultimately wished I had a job with less responsibility. And I know that's going to land with a lot of you. A lot of you are kind of secretly Googling, how can I transfer my skills to another job with less responsibility? And unfortunately, this was actually not the first time that I'd experienced this either. I had experienced this over and over and over in my 20-year career. The first time I experienced burnout, looking back, was 2 years in. And I struggled with this for the next 18 years. So along the way, I made loads of tweaks. I made loads of little changes to try and ease the overwhelm, to try and ease the burden. It was a burden in the end. And I would try and tweak my hours. I would tell myself I was going to start later. I was going to go home earlier. I was going to put in breaks. I was definitely going to have my lunch. But as soon as the patient called or somebody asked me to do something, I did it. I wasn't able to set and hold those boundaries. And then because my job was sucking so much of my soul, I was desperately searching for that joy and that satisfaction and that pleasure somewhere else. So I would take on hobbies. I would try and do things outside of work to try and give me that feeling of it not just all being about work. And it would for a little minute, like while I was doing the hobby, it was fun and I enjoyed it, but it never really mitigated for the deep resentment, the deep burnout that I was feeling. So if you're an entrepreneur, then you know that there's a little part of you that's like, it's like a curious part going, I wonder what I'm capable of. Like, I wonder if I can do this. Well, I can tell you that I satisfied that little curiosity. I no longer had any thoughts wondering, like, can I do this? I had satisfied that. And the next question became, I know that I can do this, but do I want to do this? Is this really what I want for myself? And if I thought about it going on like this until the day I retired, is that really what I wanted for myself? And the answer was a big fat resounding no. And I knew that I had this overwhelming urge that I just needed space. I kept saying to people, I just need space. I don't know what's going to come into that space, but I know that that is what I need next. And no wonder, if you look back at how I was working, every single minute of every single day was full. It was either clients or staff or family or animals or kids if you've got them, or looking after the house. And I know this sounds dramatic, but I kept hearing my soul saying that we are dying. We are dying. I wasn't literally dying, but my soul was not being fed by what I was doing or how I was doing it. Now I know that that was how my soul was trying to speak to me. It was trying to tell me the changes that I needed to make. And it was also trying to tell me through my energy bodies the exact changes that were going to bring me the most joy. So looking back, I can see all of the signs that my energy bodies were giving me. And I really wish that I had had somebody at that point going, hey, this is just a subconscious block. It's actually it's really common in healers. And once you rewrite this, you will start to enjoy what you do again. And, it has taken me years to figure this out, to embody it. But I wish somebody had taken me aside at that point and said, you do not have to do it like this. So I went on to restructure my business. So remember, from the outside, my business looked great. On paper, looked great. But I wasn't happy. And eventually, the possibility of something better became much, much more exciting than the fear of change. So suddenly, I started to get radically honest with myself. And instead of rattling off all the things that I didn't want, which is what most of us do, we could give you a list of things that we don't like and we don't want. And I started to dial into what it is that I really did want. Okay, I don't want to get home at 7:30 p.m. anymore. Right, so what time do I want to get home? Right, I want to be home by 5 p.m. Great. Now, this is where it gets super, super interesting. And this is where you need to get really clear with your energy bodies and how they speak to you. Because as soon as you start thinking about what it is that you want, you will start getting all sorts of information. All sorts of things will start coming up for you. So what about all those people that can only come after work? I feel bad if I can't see them. And I can't just really decide not to work Saturdays because I'll feel guilty, because all I really want to do is, clean the house anyway. And if I cut my hours down or my days down, well, that's really selfish, because there are people out there that I could be helping, and I'm a healer, so I should. And I want you to know that this is exactly what this block does. It prevents you from putting yourself first. It prevents you from taking care of yourself, prevents you from looking after yourself. And I had to start saying no. No, I don't want to squeeze you in my lunch break. Obviously, I didn't say it like that to clients, but no, I don't want to pop you on the end of my day. I said I was going home at 5 o'clock and I'm going home. Now, I thought that I struggled with that before because I was too nice, or I was too soft, or it was just normal. It was normal for healers to be burned out. All of my friends were, so, who am I to think I should be any different? But all along, it was this subconscious block, and it made me overgive and overdeliver, bend over backwards to please people. I used to sacrifice my own time, my own health, my own family, until I burned myself out over and over and over again. Because deep down, part of me believed that if I said no and I did what I wanted, I would be punished. And that is why it is so key to get to the root for you and rewrite it. Otherwise, this part of you will keep blocking you. Every time you want to make changes, every time you want to say what you want to do, every time you want to state a boundary, put yourself first, it will block you every time. And actually, it prevents you making the changes that are ultimately going to make you a better healer. So which feels better? Now I show up because I am doing it out of choice. I work the way that I want to, and I do it for the pure pleasure. And that's a very different energy from turning up from resentment and obligation. It's a very different energy with a very different outcome for you, your experience of being a healer, but also from your clients. When you're giving from an empty cup or a full cup, it's very, very different. So now I love how I feel. I love what I'm doing, and I love how I'm doing it. That is so, so important. And since I feel nourished and my cup is full and I'm working the way I choose, and I'm in overflow of joy and time and space and bliss, and now I show up in front of you, how can I help you? It just hits different. And what you're doing starts to feed your soul. And the nurture that you're able to give your clients now is next level. And you'll start to love how you're showing up for yourself, how you're showing up for your family, how you're showing up for your clients. And it becomes that effortless effort. So I'm not going to sit here and say, you just sit on a deck chair and it all lands in your lap. There is still effort. You still have to do things. But in yoga, there's this concept of effortful effort and effortless effort. So this is where you step into the effortless effort. You still put in the hours, you're still doing the work, but it feeds your soul instead of draining you. So I had been doing this backwards for years. But obviously now I know this was always mine to rewrite so that I could figure it out, turn around, and go and set the others free. That's what we're all here doing. So rewriting this particular block dissolved all the chasing, all of the, I gotta keep going, all of the forcing, all of the resentment. It just dissolved all of the hard edges until it puts you in this state of bliss where you can't believe that it gets to feel this good, and it just gives you that soul satisfaction. And of course you want to show up and keep doing it because it feels so damn good. It's that satisfaction piece that we miss. So if any of this resonated with you, that is why I created Nurture. So the link will be down below. And as always, I look forward to connecting with you in the next podcast.